So this is Etienne Jordan. I'm doing my second video. Um, I'm very happy to say that Walking Dead is back. I'm excited about that. Um, Love that show. I'm not gonna throw any spoilers in case anyone's been missing the episodes lately, but yeah, Walking Dead's back. Um, Been watching that every Sunday. When that goes off, Fear the Walking Dead will be coming back, so I'm looking forward to that. Not as much into it as I am The Walking Dead, but I do watch it. I do like it. Um, so, speaking of zombies, turns out that George A. Romero, the big guy who did Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that, apparently he had a comic. I did not know that. Called Empire of the Dead. There's zombies in there, and I think also vampires. Um, and the rights to it for a TV series have been sold, and AMC is, I believe, the one that bought it. The same channel that does Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be interesting. Um, the originals, I don't know if their new season is back on yet. I'm a fan of that show. It's the spin-off to the Vampire Diaries. When I first heard about the originals, I wasn't really looking forward to it. I'm not a huge fan of Klaus, but that show is very impressive. It's very good. Um, I don't know if the new season is on yet, but I need to watch it if it is. This will apparently be, unfortunately, their last season. However, I have been hearing talks, or, well, reading about talks of another spin-off that would also be set in the Vampire Diaries and Originals universe. Um, Supernatural, big fan of that show. They're in their 13th season, I believe, and may go beyond that, which is crazy. Um, been reading talks about a spin-off from there. That was tried before. It unfortunately did not work, which sucks because I actually watched the pilot episode and the theme behind it was impressive. It was different, and it would have been nice to see them play with that a little bit more, but it didn't pan out. It didn't work. But apparently they are trying their hand at a second time, and it'll be different from the premise that they had for their first spinoff. A reboot for Charmed is coming. I mean, they talked about that before, about doing a reboot. And all four of the women that played the sisters originally wasn't happy about it, from what I gathered. But then the talks fell off. I didn't hear anything else, and now I'm hearing stuff about not only is the talks back on, but they've actually started casting for the sisters in the reboot. So I don't know if that's true. I gotta find more info on that, but I'm not sure what I think about that. I mean, I was a fan of Charmed, but at the same time, Charmed hasn't been off the air all that long, and you want to do a reboot? I don't know. I mean, maybe a spin-off would have been better, but a reboot? And where will this fit in with the original Charmed? I mean, is this like an alternate reality where the first Charmed series didn't take place or whatever, and it's its own separate thing? Or is this in the same universe and the Charm ones, their history, their stuff is done, and they're still out there or whatever, but this is a new group of people? I don't know. There was talks back in the day of spin-offs or a reboot of the Buffy and Angel franchises, but that never materialized. But Josh Whedon did say that he would love to go back to that universe at some point, and now that someone's apparently deciding to do that with Charmed. I don't know, maybe Josh Whedon will look at that and be like, hey, yeah, maybe it's time. I would love that. I mean, yeah, Hollywood's on this reboot kick, which gets a little bit crazy, but Buffy was a good series. So, and I know several actresses off the top of my head that I think would be perfect to play Buffy, the new Buffy. I mean, hell, don't even do a reboot. Do a movie. Eliza Bennett, I believe, is her name. She's an actress that did the TV series Sweet and Vicious. I was watching that. I was a fan of that. Unfortunately, it didn't last. It ran for one season. They cut it. That sucked. But I was impressed with her in there. Um, Eliza Taylor, who's the main protagonist in The 100, I think could probably do it. Um, Candice Akla, who played Caroline Forbes in Vampire Diaries, she would look good as Buffy. I could throw out some other names, to be honest. I mean, so who knows? Uh, as I said in my first video, I believe, I am depressed by the fact that Teen Wolf is gone. Was a huge fan of that show. It ran for 6 seasons. Jeff Davis did an amazing job with that. But I've been reading stuff that Jeff is working on a new series based around the vampire movie Let the Right One In, I think it's called. I'll have to look into it, but I believe that's what it's called. So that interests me because he did an amazing job with Teen Wolf. I mean, that was an amazing show with great acting, great storylines. Its mythology was very rich. I mean, every season he opened up that universe more and more, and it was very unique and different and interesting. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with this, because when he did Teen Wolf, he said he wasn't gonna put vampires in there, and he never did. But now he's doing a show about vampires, so it'll be interesting to see how he does them, how he puts it, what's his spin gonna be on them, how he opens up that mythology in that universe, and I'm curious to know if they're gonna be if it's gonna be separate from his Teen Wolf show, or if it's gonna exist in the same universe. I mean, yeah, he didn't want to do vampires when he was doing the Teen Wolf universe, but that doesn't necessarily mean vampires don't exist in his universe, in that universe, especially now that he's actually working on a show about them. So, I mean, maybe the Teen Wolf cast are over here doing their thing, and then there's vampires over here. I don't know. um, so I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes and what happens with that. I'll definitely be looking into it. AMC's got a new show called The Terror that's coming. It'll be starting soon. I'm looking forward to that. The previews looked interesting. I don't know what the hell's going on, but something's definitely wrong. Something's definitely attacking them people. So it's interesting. What else? I know I said that Hollywood's doing a lot of reboots, but if there's something that needed to be rebooted, I think it's Sequest. Sequest DSV ran for 3 seasons before it was prematurely canceled, and it was a good show. Well, until they started going all crazy with aliens and supernatural stuff and getting weird, and Sequest got whisked off by aliens to another planet, and it went overboard. I stopped watching it around that time. But before all that craziness, it was a good show. So, yeah, I think a reboot of that would be interesting, because Sequest's been off the air for a good minute now. So, yeah, do a reboot of Sequest. Don't sit there and do a reboot of a show that's only been off for like 8 or 10 years or something, and that's still close to people's hearts and stuff, that people still think about and talk about quite a bit right now. I mean, that's too soon. But a show that's been off for a while and that didn't really get a chance to fully shine to its potential, yeah, do a reboot of that. Do that. There is another Underworld movie coming out. I've been a fan of the Underworld films since the beginning. Kate Beckinsale's Selene is amazing, and I'm not just saying that because she's gorgeous. That's just a part of it. But jokes aside, there's another Underworld movie coming out, and I've been reading that they're talking about doing a TV series. So I'll definitely be willing to check out the first episode. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, they could do it different ways, because they could have it centered around Celine still, but I'm sure Kate Beckinsale ain't doing a TV series. So it'll obviously be another actress playing that character if they do that. Or it could be centered around another character. Doesn't even have to deal with Celine. And if they do end up doing a TV series, will it be set in the same time frame as the movies, or will it be its own self-contained thing? I'm thinking it'd probably be best to be its own self-contained thing, because the movies have a lot's happened in the movies. I mean, that world has changed a lot. I mean, with the latest films, humans are now aware of vampires and werewolves and stuff. So I don't know. Then again, if they did it in the same thing as the movies, they could easily fit it in the time frame of one of the movies, like maybe around the time of the first two, before all the other stuff happens. So there's different ways they can go with that. It's also interesting to note that the movie The Covenant, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but at least some of the people who did Underworld did that film, and you can kind of tell. I mean, the how to say this, I don't know, just the look of it was very much Underworld. You could tell. And then the movie I, Frankenstein was done by some of the same people that did the Underworld films, and from what I read, they actually talked about I, Frankenstein definitely being in that universe, and then and maybe doing a crossover. So that's obviously probably not going to happen, but it would have been interesting to have that incorporated into the Underworld universe. I mean, you've already got immortals and vampires and werewolves and lycans in the Underworld universe, and hybrids. But if I, Frankenstein existed in that universe too, then you're talking about the Frankenstein creature, gargoyles, and crap, I haven't seen that movie in so long. What was the gargoyles fighting? Demons, I think? I can't remember. I'd have to look it up or watch it again. And then if you add the Covenant, the stuff that happened in there, you're talking about warlocks, people with magic. Were they called warlocks? I haven't watched that one in a while either. But there's definitely magic users in there. So that would add magic into that universe. So that'd be kind of interesting if one day they actually was like, oh yeah, all this other stuff is in this universe. And a TV series could definitely tap into that. But I doubt they'll go that route with that, because I don't think I, Frankenstein did like they were hoping. And if they were going to connect the two, they probably would have done it by now. And the Covenant was never actually, as far as I know, stated that they were even thinking about putting it in the Underworld universe. It was just done by some of the same people, which doesn't have to necessarily mean anything. So I just like looking at things and looking at the possibilities of stuff. The Resident Evil films have come to an end, but I've already been reading that they're talking about doing a reboot of that franchise and or spin-offs. So, and even a TV series. So I don't know which one they're going to go with. I don't know if they're going to do it all. The character of Alice was an original character for the movies, so a reboot of the franchise will probably obviously star someone else. The same thing with spin-offs, the spin-offs would probably still be set in her universe, so she could probably do guest appearances. TV series, they could go different ways with that. That can be about completely different character, or it could still be centered around Alice but portrayed by a different actress. I don't know. To be frank, if they do anything, I'd like to see more of Leon. I think his name is Leon. He's a major player in the actual games, and he's in the animated CGI films, Resident Evil films, which was also very good. And he's a badass in there. But the one live action movie he showed up in, I mean, he was, yeah, that wasn't Leon. He was so overshadowed. And I know those movies are about Alice, but they could still let him be a badass without him overshadowing her. I mean, really, they didn't have to punk him out like that. So, I'd like to see more of him and see him as like the badass he's supposed to be. Um, Jumping back to Underworld, real quick. Um, oh man, it was in my head. There was something else that was there. Oh, I can't remember it now. I told you all about the spin-offs. No, the about the new movie and about the possible TV series. Huh. Oh, Kate Beckinsale. I believe I remember reading something about Kate Beckinsale saying she would like uh, Celine to have an encounter with Blade. That would be crazy. I'm just throwing this out there because it amuses me, because that would be badass and I'd pay money to see that. But obviously that's not going to happen. Um, Speaking of Blade, don't know what Marvel's going to do about that. I mean, Wesley Snipes has said he'd like to come back for a fourth film, but I don't think that's going to happen. More than likely, the character's going to be rebooted, probably into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and obviously played by a different actor. When that'll happen, I don't know. How it'll happen, I don't know. Will he get his own movie? Will he guest star in another movie and then show up in his own movie? Will he get a TV series, maybe on Netflix with Daredevil in them? I don't know. But however they do it, I'm looking forward to it. I like the fact that Marvel is grabbing up their characters and putting them all in the same universe. That's badass. Because they're in the same universe in the comics, and they encounter and run into each other all the time in the comics. So, um, speaking of Marvel, they're definitely rolling. I mean, their live action movies are Black Panther. I watched that with some of my friends, and that movie, in my opinion, it may be the best Marvel's done so far. It's definitely one of the best. I mean, it's awesome. I can't wait to add it to my collection. Um, Definitely very, very awesome. So, um, Marvel's Marvel's got several shows that hopefully a lot of people are keeping track of. There's Agent Carter. That's off the air now, but it ran for 3 seasons, 2 or 3. That's set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as is Agents of Marvel's Agents of Shield. That is in its 5th season, I believe. I haven't watched it yet, but I have been watching the past shows, and I was a fan. Although I hear that this season went a little crazy and they're in space or something, so I don't know what they're doing right now, and I'm a little bit worried that they're gonna get themselves canceled. But um, Netflix has Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage. Then they did the Defenders. There's Punisher, who got his own series after he guest starred on Daredevil along with Elektra. So, and those are all set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, there's the series called Runaways, and there was the series called Inhumans. Runaways is coming back for a second season. Inhumans, no clue, because that show actually fell kind of badly. It fell really badly. I watched it, and the only thing that kept me going was the fact that it's Marvel, so out of respect I watched it all the way through. But yeah, that one fell. Sorry, Marvel. Yeah, can't win them all, I guess. So I don't know if they're gonna keep going with another season and hope to try and make it better, or if they're just gonna cut their losses and scrap it. I know I read somewhere that Marvel had major plans for the Inhuman stuff, and they definitely brought them into Agents of Shield. and they were a big thing in like several seasons, and one of the characters on there is an Inhuman. So Sky. Um, so I don't know if that stops or messes up their plans, or they got to rethink things. I don't know. Interesting thing though, the whole Inhumans thing. I think Marvel was the cinematic universe was getting big to doing stuff with that because they didn't have access to mutants, but Marvel bought Fox, so the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, they should be coming home now, which means the Marvel Cinematic Universe can make use of mutants again. So I don't know. Marvel's just, they're huge, and there's so much that they can do now. I'm gonna enjoy them bringing in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Obviously, the Fantastic Four will be rebooted because the last film sucked. The X-Men will probably be rebooted. I don't know how to fully feel about that one because they did awesome in picking the actors to play the roles of the various X-Men, but at the same time those storylines are just, there's so many different timelines and there's so many inconsistencies. So yeah, maybe a fresh start and a reboot. Plus, how would you explain the X-Men never showing up until this point? Just popping them in, and they're already established, and yeah, they need to find a way to bring them in a way that makes sense. So a reboot, I think, will have to happen. But I look forward to the day when we see the X-Men toe to toe, side by side with the Avengers. Unfortunately, by the time they get all that slated out, we'll probably not have the same actors that we do right now playing the Avengers because they're getting older. They've all done multiple movies. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is awesome as Iron Man, but he's been there since the beginning. So don't really know how many more movies we're gonna see of him playing Iron Man, and that sucks, but I get it. So that's a little bit. Um, what else? Marvel has other shows coming. There's the New Warriors, and there's Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger will be on Freeform, and New Warriors, I don't know what channel that's gonna be on yet, but they are also established to have existing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, there's also the shows Legion and Gifted, but those are not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They are Marvel Comics stuff, but they are not in the Cinematic Universe. They are actually tied to the X-Men films universe. Haven't watched Legion. Gifted was really good though. Gifted was awesome. I liked that, and that is coming back for a second season. Legion, I don't know how many seasons they've already got. Probably 2 or 3. They were on before Gifted. Probably my only real problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe though is they're continuously advancing it and expanding their universe, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but they're not tying it in together as well as I was hoping they would. Interact your characters. I mean, interact the shows and the movies. I mean, yeah, that might be a little bit difficult, but you know what? It's worth it. Those characters are supposed to interact with each other. They do it all the time in the comics. And why are you continuously adding them if you're not planning to do that? So it's just, I mean, the fans will freaking go crazy. They'll love it. So they need to tie that together more. I mean, shoot, I'd love to see Daredevil and Spider-Man side by side. I mean, come on. Most of them are in New York City. I mean, yeah, that's a big city, but how much can you honestly say those heroes are all in that one city and they don't interact with each other? They don't run across each other. They don't find each other dealing with the same threat or something. I mean, really? Come on. Come on. That doesn't make sense. So, just I don't know. They need to kind of work on that, I think. Speaking of cinematic universes, DC's is still rolling. They've got their movies. Not really happy with their movies lately. Hopefully they'll get on board. Like I said in my first video, I'm a fan of both Marvel and DC, and I hope they both work out. If they do, the fans win. So I'm rooting for DC, but it's not really looking too well. But they have a bunch of movies slated to come out, so they still got plans to keep rolling. So I'm just hoping that the quality of their movies will get better. Wonder Woman was good. Their animated stuff is very good. Their animated films are very good, and the CW shows that they're doing, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Flash, and Arrow, are very good. And those shows are actually connected. They're in their own cinematic universe. DC with CW now have Black Lightning. That's on there. I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen previews and I've seen the trailers, and they look good. My dad watches it and he says he likes it, so I plan to check it out at some point. As far as I know, it's not in the CW. It's not in the Arrowverse as they call it with the others, but they may add it in at some point because Supergirl originally wasn't set in the Arrowverse. In fact, her show takes place on another Earth, different alternate universe, and when she interacts with Flash and them, she jumps to their universe through portal, and vice versa. So, by the way, hope I'm not spoiling anything. Spoiler, sorry. But yeah, so they could interact him later with the others, but right now I think they're just gonna keep him separate. DC also has Gotham, which is on another channel. That's on Fox, I believe. Haven't been watching it. My mom does though. She likes it, and I've heard good things. So DC's got that. I've heard a lot of stuff that people would love to have Smallville connected to the Arrowverse. And the way they're doing their Arrowverse, the fact that they've talked and shown different alternate realities, they could definitely do that. I really hope they do that at some point. I mean, I don't know what Tom Welling's doing these days, but if they can somehow get him to reprise his character, or even Laura Vandervoort to reprise her version of Supergirl and have her run into the Supergirl that we have now. Oh man, that would be crazy. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I don't know when the X-Men will be brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because the deal or the buy of Fox doesn't appear to be changing anything yet. Both, from what I've been reading, both companies still have their slate of movies planned to come out. On the X-Men side with Fox, there's Deadpool 2. There's an X-Force, I believe. There's other stuff. They're still talking about doing a Gambit, but I think at this point, maybe we ought to just let that go. I'm starting to lose hope, because it's been a long time, and I don't know if they're going to get that one off the table. And which sucks, because Gambit's one of my favorite X-Men. He's a badass, and he's a fan favorite, but I'm just beginning to think that that's not going to happen. So, I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they'll get it together sooner or later. Sooner rather than later, because I've been hearing about this for years now. But, and Marvel, of course, we definitely, on the Marvel Cinematic side, we definitely know that they've got their slate of movies coming. There's going to be a Black Panther 2. There's going to be an Ant-Man and the Wasp. Miss Marvel's coming. There's going to be a Doctor Strange 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Spider-Man Homecoming 2. And So they're still going with their movies. The Venom movie is coming. It will be tied to Spider-Man, but not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not really sure how that's gonna work. Sony is doing that. Um, Personally, I think that's a mistake because Venom was tied to Spider-Man. That story was connected. The alien symbiote started on Peter Parker. So I really hate when they just change stuff to change stuff. And why do you take something that has a huge fan base and a lot of history and you just change it? I mean, certain changes I can understand, but when you just seem to change stuff just to change stuff, why do that? Because a lot of times it doesn't work out. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I guess I can't argue too much about it because sometimes those changes do work out. I mean, the Vampire Diaries TV show, for instance, there's huge differences from the novels that they were based off of, and I really couldn't get into the novels, but I was a huge fan of the show and its spinoff, the originals. Teen Wolf, the movie starring Michael J. Fox. Watched it once, couldn't really get into it. I just don't see werewolves being comedic. But Jeff Davis, when he came along and he made the live action show loosely based off of that movie, it blew my mind. That was an amazing show. I watched it from the beginning to the end. So lots of changes from the movie. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes the changes, I don't know. Guess we'll see how it works out. So one thing I am hoping though that Marvel and Sony or both of them will do at some point, the Spider-Verse. Different Spider-Men from different universes interacting with each other. That would be amazing. And you know what? Doing that storyline, they could even bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield from when they played their versions of Spider-Man and have them interact with Tom Holland, add other characters in there, add some of the female spider characters like Spider-Woman, Silk, Spider-Girl, Spider-Gwen. Oh man. Yeah, that would be kick-ass. And you could do sequels based off of that. I mean, have them interact every now and then. Just wow, there's just all sorts of things that they could do right now. So, um, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, something I wanted to bring up. Going back to Charmed. I noted how the reboot is coming, but it's interesting to bring up the fact that there was a show originally similar to Charmed called The Witches of East End, which ran for 2 seasons before it was prematurely canceled. So there's that. I was a fan of that, and that had some definite similarities to Charmed. Um, I hope I didn't already mention that. I'm just now realizing I may have already mentioned that. I can't remember for sure. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit nervous doing this. So if I already mentioned that, my bad. Try not to hate me too much. But yeah. So this is me. I'm done for this video. I'll put up some more. See you guys later.